What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for tapping into another episode of the Mindful Moneymakers podcast, where we break down all of the mindset shifts you need to make if you want to live a life by design instead of by default. Today, I'm so excited about our guests. This is the first episode where we're going to have two guests at the same time. Get excited, get excited. We're talking to the co-founders of the Equality Education Program. It's Soleil and Arianna. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. Matter of fact, hold on. People need to know a little bit about you. Let's jump in.
Hello.
So, so these two powerhouses of positive energy and mindset phenomenality. We're making up words now, right? Can we do that?
I love
They're,
it.
they're here to inspire humans to unconditionally love themselves and others. The crux of their mission is behind creating the equality education. Equality education is transforming limiting beliefs into empowering ones. Their offerings include a comprehensive social, emotional, and diversity awareness centered curriculum, as well as empowering products for educators, parents, and children. All the lessons in their social, emotional, virtual learning curriculum are addressed at two levels. First is the self, and second is the community. The distinction between self and community lessons reflect a core philosophy of the equality education. The philosophy that is better treatment and understanding of of one's world stems from better treatment of oneself. Each individual must do the work of bettering their relationship with themselves before they have enough inner power to go out and share that with their world. By dispersing this master knowledge to the youth of all ages across the globe, they aim to create a shift in the way we humans exchange our energy. Think of how differently a 10-year-old, uh, hold up, I'm gonna run that one back. Think of how differently 10-year-old you would have gone through life if you had been given the tools to meet your challenges with a clear mind and open heart. This understanding is fundamental to all of us human beings. I'm so excited to be talking with you guys today because what I just read is perfectly aligned with my love mission. The first love representing the love that you have for yourself, and the second being the love that you have for the world. So,
Yes.
so before we jump in, this is going to be a super exciting conversation. Before we jump in, I want to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit more about how you got started, where you are now, and where we headed.
Awesome.
Awesome. We're so grateful to be here. So grateful to be
Absolutely.
here.
You could take it away, Soleil. Go ahead.
So I think originally me and Ari are just people that want to make a difference in the world, and Ari has extensive knowledge on human behavior and how to just love yourself and love others. And I've worked with kids for a long time and was truly inspired by her teaching. So we thought, let's put our superpowers together. Let's put our superpowers together in order to really transform people's lives. And we also realized that there's a lot of personal coaching, a lot of life transformation programs for adults, but not many for children. And children have difficulties and they have challenges and they learn teachings from adults that are carried on for the rest of their life. And we just want to challenge their beliefs to make sure that they live their most positive and their most empowering life that they can possibly create.
Yes. I feel like also, Soleil, you and I were on our own paths in doing that work ourselves. We both have worked with kids and youth in different environments for an extensive amount of years. And we actually were in the same circle and hadn't crossed paths for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. It was a long time, very close friends of friends. And I actually worked with her partner. So I worked closely with him and we crossed paths and it was a beautiful connection. It was like this instantaneous. We actually used to go live on Instagram just so we could talk the talk, like so we could have these conversations that you would leave feeling really charged up because it's the love and the love, you feel good when you get love and you give love. And so that started this really beautiful relationship from the beginning. And then we came to realize this understanding that her and I had both gone through situations of, adverse relationships and environments and overcoming that stuff in our own life's experiences. And we were sat down one day, we were like, how different would life be if all of this really, really hard stuff that we had to have come at you in your 20s and 30s or the end of your teenage years that is painful and emotional and confusing? What if somebody taught us these lessons when we were little and we could have this beautiful understanding of what is natural as a human?
Yeah.
Instead of all this stuff that we learn from other people's pain and their trauma, and then you're like, wait, this isn't mine and I've been holding it forever. So that became something that blossomed into this beautiful, it kind of developed over time. Yeah. But it blossomed into this beautiful idea where we were like, the kids, they need this. So that's where we are today. That's where we've landed.
And they absolutely do need that. And I love that. I love the way that works because I resonate with how you guys connected and linked up, because that's how we connected and linked up. And I remember feeling in the DMs, your vibe attracts your tribe. And we're saying, we're talking the talk, the same language is what we're talking.
Yeah.
Do y'all hear that? Sounds like a wind or something. I don't know if that's me or...
We have no wind.
Yes.
It's all good. It's all good. But no, we're resonating. We're definitely on the same frequency and the same vibration. One thing that stood out about you guys' bio and what you've been working on is the word unconditionally before love, right? I think one of the most important questions people can ask themselves is their definition of love, because that is one of the largest frames in which, the filters in which you'll see the world and experience the world. So that's what I want to ask. I want to dive into the definition of love and what it means to love yourself unconditionally.
Coming in with the big question.
You go Ari first.
You're playing around.
Oh my gosh. So the long short of it that I've come to this realization through my own experiences, and something that I have not known my whole life, is that love is a core foundation of what it means to be human. We all have different experiences that give us our own definitions. We were just having a conversation about this earlier. We are building a very touchy subject module for our curriculum right now that is about children dealing with abuse and trauma. And what does that person's definition of love look like? It's very different depending on who you interact with and the experiences that you have in your life. But ultimately for me, love is the energy that allows us to connect with each other at an authentic level and express who we are inside, and have somebody receive it in a way that allows us to be vulnerable and real. And it takes a lot of work to get to that place. It's not necessarily natural when we've had all of these experiences that lead us to believe otherwise, or they veer us from our track of our true self. And so it takes a lot of work, but it really is, in my belief, the core of the foundation of who we are as a social species.
Wow. Yeah. So I've been asking myself that question, what is love, a lot recently, especially like when you go through self-actualization, self-analyzing in your life. When I was younger, my vision of love was manipulated in very different ways. And now being older, I'm having to confront myself of what do I actually want? And I found myself when I was a kid starving for love, doing anything for love. And what I really was starving for was for human connection. But I think that when it comes to unconditional love with yourself or another person, you actually give yourself to this life experience without limitations and without holding pain in your heart. You release it. You release the pain of yourself, and you release the pain of expecting others to fulfill you. And you just kind of dive into what life experience is. I've had to realize that my version of unconditional love is being able to, forgive myself from my past and just love people and enjoy other people's wins as much as I have my wins, or like to just, even when things aren't working out, to be able to just experience life without self-sabotaging and self-criticizing, and just doing the best. My version of love is waking up every day and just enjoying this experience, the challenges, the highs, the lows, and just consistently feeding my soul and consistently feeding other people's spirit, because I become, from the starving child that needed love because of a traumatic experiences, I've become the person that just reaches a level of gratitude in life where I'm thankful for breathing, like thankful for my friends, just thankful and just releasing myself to my life experience.
Yes, indeed.
And just to add onto that super quickly, what you just said, which was beautiful,
Thanks.
and a piece of what you just said as well is to meet each other out in the world without judgment. That is what unconditional love is. It's no matter who you are and where you've been and what you look like and sound like, I can love you for you. And period.
I don't expect anything. It's you, me.
Yeah.
Right. I think that people get tripped up on that part. And it's, I don't know, it's interesting for me because if you just look at the definition of unconditional, without condition, right? You would realize that this means no matter what your religious belief is, your political affiliation, your race, your gender, your sexual orientation, no matter what you've done to me, no conditions. And that unconditional love is bliss, is blissful. And what I'm resonating with what you're saying with it being your core, who you are, is, that's what I practice. That's what I believe. I believe that, the words I am are the two most powerful words in the universe, because whatever follows it becomes the ultimate truth. So I am love, and when I decided to make love my identity, everything else began to change. Everything started to change. So I think that is tremendously important that people get to return back to that natural state of being love, the expression of love, being able to exchange, receive, and give love. But I think that there's another hurdle, there's another obstacle where we associate love with a relationship, right? That, and it kind of it cancels it out, because that relationship now becomes a condition.
Yeah.
Right. I think that what most people don't realize is that sometimes the truest form of love is distance, is being able to separate from someone.
That's a fact.
Because, in some situations, you kind of enable bad behavior. You kind of, you become a crutch for some people. And you think that being there, being next to them is love, when actually you're preventing them from finding and exploring parts of themselves by keeping their attention on you. And I think that it's important to get to children, because they're still developing, in those areas.
And that comes from like when someone has such a great sense of self and a great sense of others, that they're able to practice that we can be separate and there still be love. That's releasing controlling how you want to be loved and just being in the state of love itself. Like I love Ari. We're business partners, right? And it's like I am grateful to witness her life and the growth of her life. I'm just the witness of her life. There's no controlling, there's no trying to manipulate, there's no anything. There's just, I'm here growing my life. And as an add-on, I get the gift to be connected and friends with you, that I get to see you in your life, and we connect and we come together and we share, and there's that release of control and manipulation and just being in love. That was a big lesson for me, because when you're starving for love, when you're starving for love, you'll do anything to keep it.
Yeah.
you know? So that was a huge lesson for me. Like, you can, like, that person can live their life. Even with my partner, it's like I had to be like, oh, we can't control each other. And I can't tell you, oh, that I need you, love me this, that way, this now, wait, right now. I'm not being present to his ability to love. So that was a big one for me, 100%.
Yeah. I learned that lesson kind of the first way for people to be able to approach that, which is a really big idea and manifests itself across a lot of different situations in life. The real first step to that was something that I learned in a profound way some years ago, which was my own ability to feed myself frees me of the need to get fed by others. And so when you're able to give yourself the things that you seek validation from in other people, it allows you to, like I said, create this freedom, which is I don't have to rely on you for what I'm looking for personally, because every day I wake up and I'm getting full. I give myself the things that my soul needs, my body needs, my mind needs. And because of that, not only do I have an abundance to give to others, but I am never compromising my values, my beliefs, just to get fed by someone else. And I was with my partner, who I'm now married to, for a decade. And yes,
Celebration.
yes. And it took a decade of figuring out that love, because the two of us operated with each other in a way where we fed ourselves first and fed each other second. And people hear that and they're like, what? Like, your partner comes secondary? And it's like, yes. If I can't show up to take care of you, then there is nothing. There is no relationship, right? I come first in the most selfishly unselfish way ever. And to do that, first and foremost, you wake up every day and you give yourself the love that your body needs to drink in, and you be Gucci.
You be good.
You be good.
Big Gucci.
You be like,
God
ooh,
damn.
different. Yep.
Yeah, you hitting on all the topics I was about to ask you. I wanted to ask you, so we have the technique, we have the understanding, we know that there's another option at this point. I wanted to dive into how that feels for you. What is it? What is the experience of love from your perspectives?
Such a good question.
Wow, great
I
question.
feel y'all dropping into your heart space right now.
I think for me, love feels like the ability to be and give, and also receive in a sense, because you have to be able to receive love. And I've learned, like, from trauma, that could be very difficult for a lot of people. But it's like, as I said before, being able to really be in this life experience and really enjoy yourself, enjoy the process of life, enjoy others. Love to me, well, for my journey, was definitely healing and grace. I've got to see the power of love through grace, because the thing is, with my traumas in the past, I didn't realize how my behavior was being presented to other people. And what other people has shown me was grace and the power of forgiveness, which I was able to give to the people that hurt me in the past. And I realized that love is not controlling, it's not manipulating, it is just being, giving, and receiving. It's just like being able to be in this life experience, being able to give to another person, being able to receive, also give to yourself and receive. And I think that, and it's just the most healing, the most powerful thing. I remember one time I was babysitting, and Eli, this little kid who was 5, he was like, Soleil, don't you know that love is the most powerful force in the world? And I was like,
Now I do.
Okay.
Yeah, get him on the podcast.
Yeah.
Kill it on the
He was killing it. He was killing us. Yeah, that's what love feels. Love feels like you don't even have to, like, control yourself. You know, you could just be yourself.
I am.
You know, you could be who you are. You know, I've been gifted to be in present spaces right now where I don't have to be anything but myself, and I can have beautiful, authentic conversations with myself and others. And I think it's just space, it's release.
Yes.
Freedom, liberation.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think for my experience, it goes a little bit off of what I just mentioned, but I had to learn. I came from a space of a place that a lot of us do, which is being a very chronic and toxic people pleaser. And my Leo heart wanting to be big and full by being valuable to others and being so sorely disappointed when I didn't get the same thing back in return, confused and disappointed. And the thing that was birthed out of that, a very hard, humbling, and deeply powerful lesson that I've taken with me for the rest of my life was you are compromising yourself to receive love from others, a little bit of what you just touched on, Soleil. And the way for me to do that was to get selfish. And what that meant was that I had to set boundaries in my world that were totally uncomfortable. It gave me goosebumps talking about it. Totally uncomfortable, totally out of the boundaries of what I had ever done before, saying things to people that I was like, what am I saying? You're never gonna love me again. And moving through that space and realizing the people that didn't stick around because of me standing up for myself and giving myself the attention and love that I need first. If those people didn't understand, they were not meant for me. And those people that did stick around were the ones that would honor the respect that I have for myself. And me showing myself that respect taught other people how to love and respect me in that same way. And so that was a huge lesson for me to understand, like, what does it feel to be loved? It's not me always changing who I am to try to be who you want me to be. That sucks after a while. Like, you're just like, you lose yourself in all of that. And so getting selfish, yeah. And people view that as such a negative connotation, and there could be negativity in selfishness, but I mean it in a positive way. It's a really beautiful thing when you embrace it in terms of feeding myself better so I can feed you.
Yeah.
Right. I think a lot of us, we trip up on that. We dedicate ourselves to our job and our relationships first, and we don't realize that we're giving from an empty cup, trying to give from an empty cup anyway. And it just makes everything worse, and you're miserable while doing it. If you're not energetically or vibrationally aligned with happiness, joy, peace, surrender, all of the things, then you're projecting and inserting an energy into your relationships that's not conducive. So I absolutely implore everybody listening right now to fill your cup first. Fill your cup first, because nothing good comes from an empty cup. So for the kids that we serve,
Yeah.
right? We teach them about unconditional love. We help them build a relationship with themselves. And what do they do moving forward with that level of awareness? What do we hope they go on to do?
Make better. I hope that
She knew. She was ready.
I have to calm myself down
Feels
because
like-
I get very passionate about
That
it.
cut out the foolishness.
They're able to be aware of their decisions. That's like point blank and simple for me. If you can learn, if you could really see a situation and you don't come from a toxic space, or you don't come from a starvation of love or these things, you can make better decisions yourself. If you learn to love yourself, you can make great decisions for yourself, because a lot of the times our level of self-worth in our minds that were based off of needing to be validated or starving for love can cause us to be like, oh, I'm not good enough for that. Or you're not, like, it just better decision making point. Like, if I had all the tools that the equality education was providing as a child, a lot of the situations that I put myself in, especially during my teen years, I would have definitely resisted and been able to pull myself out of those situations way easier, way faster, because I would have been aware, okay, this thought is coming from me not believing in myself. This thought is coming from me starving for love. This thought is coming from or even knowing like within myself, oh, I want this. This is what's better for me. I know I can have this in my life. So for me, it's better decision making. You'll be able to better decide because your life is based on your choices. Your
Yeah.
life, what you choose now will be the outcome of your life in 5 years. I really believe that if a situation arises, you have two choices: to invest in the moment or to invest in the future. And what I wish I would have learned is to be able to have foresight. Like have foresight, like, oh, if I do this 1 year from now, this is how it's gonna affect my life. So hopefully with kids is to be able to make great decisions in their life.
Yeah.
That's my goal. My goal is just for them to be able to be like love themselves through it all, forgive themselves through it all, but just to be aware of their choices.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and just to expand on that a little bit, I think one of the things that we learn from a really young age, particularly from elders, unfortunately, is to discredit our own innate power and to, relinquish it to outside sources, whether that's an adult who tells you what to do and you believe it inherently, or whether that's someone who influences a life choice and you go off on a whole life trajectory in a direction that isn't something that you actually want at all. And so the first step to that, which we've kind of touched on here, the first step to that entire process, which takes people usually decades to get to, is awareness. So I cannot make a change in my life. I cannot do anything that is of productive growth nature until I become aware of the dynamic first. And a lot of times what happens when we're young and we're in these ages of imprint and your brain is developing and creating these neural pathways and then they get stuck forever, is that we never take ourselves out of ourselves. So I'm in it, I'm in my emotional reaction, I am the person who's having this done to me, and I'm never learning the skills to step outside of myself and look at him or her as this entity that is in the experience, but could actually take a step back and be in control of all of that.
Yeah.
So I don't have to do the thing that someone tells me because they expect me to. I don't have to live the life that my parents lived because it's the path that they decided for me. So I would love for children to take this knowledge, to understand what love is, to understand these principles of how to respect and love yourself, and then pass that on to others to become aware of themselves, to practice all of these things, which is the first step to then implementing them, which is what creates change in life. And then the next step would be for people to not, this is something that I talk to people about all the time, which we never tell kids to do: question everything. Just because someone told it to you, just because you read it on the internet, whatever, just because you heard it as a rumor in a classroom does not mean that it's true. Just because someone told you to do it with your life. Make decisions for yourself. Use your awareness to become perceptive of everything that's around you and being fed to your psyche. And then build your life in the direction of your heart intuition. Build your life in the direction of the things that you actually want, that feel good, not that others expect of you. It'll change your whole
life.
It'll change your whole life.
Take it from us.
Yeah.
Right?
Take it from us, first-hand experience. And I love what you guys are saying, because this level of awareness will affect your decision making, and that'll affect the results and the experience that you're having. I was having a conversation the other day, and she asked me the question, how do you protect your peace? And I think it's relevant to this. If we exchange peace for love, I can do that. Love is peace. Peace is love. It was what came up for me was developing it. developing my peace, developing my self-love to a certain level to where I know what it feels like. I feel like I'm vibrating on a different level. And once I'm able to do that, everything else, the decision making, the day by day living, the results, all of that becomes so much easier because I have a frame of reference. I know how I want to feel. I have a level of awareness to what I want to feel. So it's less about what do I do? How do I do? I'm worried, I'm anxious about this. And it's more about showing up and just being, because your subconscious mind, your frequency, your vibration is automatically going to guide you towards what is for you, towards what feels like love, peace, and what your experience of that is, and away from other things. So you can kind of let your discernment have a little break. Of course, you're going to still have it. Of course, you're still going to make distinctions, but it's not this overwhelming, what am I going to do type of thing. Once you get to that level with yourself, you hardly spend any energy on it. And I think that's beneficial. That's something that I wish I would have had, as a child.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
I just put a reel on this actually. I'll drop this quick knowledge bomb really quickly because it blew my mind when I realized it. Is that exactly what you just said, we discount this intuitive feeling or the voice inside of our head that speaks clearly all the time. Not like sometimes it shows up, sometimes it doesn't, all the time. So I heard an experience of someone who is saying, well, I walk past my vitamins and there's this voice that goes off inside of my head that says, should I take that? Right? And that's your intuition, which is telling you, take that. We perceive it as a question and we respond to it as a question, but your intuition is giving you an answer every single time. But we go inside of our heads and we stay inside the thinking mind.
Yep.
What am I doing with my life? All of these different questions that we ask ourselves. When we get quiet and tune in to your feeling self, tune in, drop out of your head and into your heart, you're able to receive answers that your brain could never think up. And you're able to receive opportunity when you open yourself to things that your brain could never possibly conceive that would be possible for you. So stop taking the intuition as a question of should I do this or that?
Yeah.
Listen closer and it will always be an answer.
But that's the communication, like what you said earlier, between your soul and your brain. And people need to understand that your brain behaves according to the decision making between your first 7 years of life, your environment of your first 7 years of life. So although your soul may be craving something, your soul may be like, hey, I need this vitamin. Your brain will come up with like, oh, but if I take it now, then I won't have time to do this. Or, oh, blah, 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 blah. And your brain, your thought, how your thought process has been trained is having a whole conversation way different from your soul.
Right. So I'm glad that we're reprogramming. We're reprogramming towards love.
Necessary.
Yeah.
There's so many things, so many ways we can go from here, because this is such a deep topic. It's such an important topic too. But I think what we're interested to know is, how does the program work? How it's in a virtual space. Do you also do it in person? How can we get connected? All of the things.
Yes, absolutely. So we're currently promoting our I Am affirmations coloring book, which is a really beautiful product. We made it for this youth program, but it's actually been very popular among people of all ages because the whole thing is hand illustrated by this amazing woman. It is a very powerful meditative process for yourself or a beautiful gift to someone else. That is one of an entire line of products that we have that are being launched for kids. And then what we're creating is something that's a little different than you can find anywhere else. So a lot of times social emotional learning programs are delivered specifically in the classroom and they focus on a very specific set of skills. What we're building is a virtual online curriculum that is made to integrate all types of learners. And so we have these learners who are auditory, visual, kinesthetic, and these programs don't always cater to all those types of learning. and therefore kids can lack in what they actually absorb from the knowledge. So we have animated episodes that we're in the process of producing. We have 50 plus modules on self and community that are all centered around teaching kids these really fundamental skills that we need to connect with our mind, our body, and our spirit, and to understand emotional intelligence from a young age. So it's really comprehensive. It's a big picture look with some really, really dialed in, awesome things for the kids. And that will be going live in 2022.
Yes. 2022. Yeah, and it's going to be absolutely beautiful because the program really like caters to both parents and the child. You know, a lot of educational programs, you know, they're a bit advanced and children can't comprehend it right away, which is why we have what Ari said about the animated episodes and why we have, you know, the speaking, like there's reading comprehensions, journal prompts, all that extra stuff. And it's like, there's also going to be the parent handbook, which is huge, you know, so how the parent can engage in the conversation. How
We're teaching a lot of things that parents don't know yet.
that parents don't know, you know,
For
and
real.
and it's like they should. This education should be, you know, to everyone, available to everybody, because everybody wants to raise a great kid. Everybody wants their kids to, like, you know, all the parents that really do take on the responsibility, at the end of the day, they really want to they want their kids to be able to live a great life, you know, and parents are going to be able to learn for themselves how to create a great life for themselves and what they were lacking in their childhood that they can revisit and heal. So this program, it's very phenomenal. It's very creative and beautiful. If you go on the website now on your computer, it is colorful and it is eye-catching. It's everything.
It's
everything.
www.theequalityeducation.com.
Yes, indeed.
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
We put a lot of intention in that.
Oh, I feel it. I can't wait. I can't wait. Everybody listening, you already know where to find the link. It's in the description. Oh, man, this has been a great conversation. But before we go, I got one more question for each of you, Soleil and Ari. What's one thing, and I'm glad that you brought up the Parents Guidebook too, because I know that a lot of people that we're going to reach, to get to children, we're going to go through parents. So we get to address them. We get to embrace them as well. What's one thing that anybody listening right now, any parent can do to start living a life by design instead of by default, or help their child to start living a life by design instead of by default?
Yeah. Good question. So many, all your questions have been
Amazing
great.
questions. Go for it.
Yeah, so for me, I would say to stop avoiding the things that we're scared of. Sounds really hard to think of, sounds even harder to do. Fear is the thing that keeps us locked in a place of comfortability. And this is what keeps us blocked from growth. And if you're not growing, you're dying. And if you're not growing, you're not able to teach someone else how to flourish and grow. And that becomes a toxic dynamic that's passed on from generation to generation. Be the one who breaks the generational trauma. Step into your uncomfort. You will survive. You have survived everything else in your life to this point thus far. And share that love and the lessons that you've learned about yourself with other people so you can create a ripple effect that helps change your family and the rest of the world.
That's a fact. Yeah, I applaud you for that one because that was a fact.
I mean it.
I know.
Yeah.
I think parents need to be aware that what you say to the child and how you say it becomes a voice in their head.
Yep.
So if you're telling your child, you're stupid, you're this, why don't you do anything you right, you know, and you're yelling at the child, they will have a really crazy self-critic. If you empower your child, you are so brilliant. Even when they make mistakes, even when they do fail, to empower them through that, they will keep thriving and they won't have a self-critic, they'll have a best friend mentally. So be aware of this, you know. Also, Don't abuse a child. Don't physically abuse a child. It takes a lot for a person to come out of that. You know, like, if not even just, not even like just when they're done with it, but when you're done with the abuse in certain ways, but more like what they have to go through in adulthood to train their brain again. You know, well, how they have to get out of it with their in their own head, you know. And I think that that's important. I believe you can discipline your child without physically abusing them, you know. And I that's just something that I've learned because I know how it affects someone's neurons and their nervous system. You know, if you cross that boundary with them, there's a high chance that they'll allow somebody else to cross that boundary as well. So just be aware of how you communicate. And if you teach them, if you respect your child, I know that they don't know everything in the world, but if you respect them, they will tell everybody else to respect them and they will respect themselves. So just to be aware, your voice becomes their thoughts. And how you create boundaries is how they go out in the world to create that boundary.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Powerful, powerful stuff. The two goddesses then showed up today. Oh, man, we're blessed. We're in love. We're in gratitude. I appreciate you two so much for coming and sharing your energy, sharing your experiences, sharing your vibrations with us today. I look forward to being able to do it again. Matter of fact, um, Instagram. How do we connect with you on a personal level before I tap out?
Yeah, we are at the Equality EDU on Instagram, so a little shortened. Twitter at the Equality Education. And our email is hello at theequalityeducation.com. We would love to hear from everybody. We like stories and chatting and opportunities to connect with dope individuals like yourself. So bring it on.
Bring it on. And then
Yes.
once you're connected to the Equality EDU on Instagram, you'll be able to find me and Ari's Instagram,
Yeah.
which is very like we put up motivational videos, we put up videos for self-analyzing and everything like that.
Yeah.
So, and also
All
get your
these knowledge
coloring
bombs.
book, get your
Yes.
I am affirmation coloring book.
Grab
It is
that.
on Amazon. You can email us all of that. We can send it to you however you want to do it. Just get your I am affirmation coloring book. I promise you, if you feel shaken, or if your child feels shaken, or if you just feel like you want to be creative, once you are able to finish and see this image, you
It's
will
amazing.
feel happiness
It's
and
pretty
love
good.
and all of that.
Yes, indeed. So, all right, family, everybody listening, you already know that was Soleil and Ari, and we're so happy to have this conversation. As always, love, love, be
Yes.
well, and don't forget to have the guts to follow your guts. Peace.
Yes.